everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Oldish Live. My name is Karen Brown. I'm the publisher and editor of the Oldish, and as always, it is my pleasure to welcome you back. If you're new with us, you need to go back this week and watch last week's edition, because last week we introduced you to this wonderful book called Visiting Nannie, and we had the author, Anna Gaffney, with us. Today, we have Valerie Chessell, who is the artist behind the wonderful images in this book. So we're going to have a chat with her. So welcome to you. Thank you for making the time to join us.
Well, thanks for having me.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Tell us a bit about yourself, because this artistic bent is not your first thing.
I often describe my journey into art as my midlife crisis.
That's okay. We should all have a midlife crisis. It's so beautiful.
Like I was my initial, when I was finished school, I'm a dental assistant.
Oh, that is a switch.
So
okay.
I worked in a dentist's office. I worked in public health dentistry, doing dental health education. I've had a bit of experience at a newspaper in advertising.
Oh, wow.
I then went to a customer service order desk in a production plant in Mitchell, because I was in a stage in my life where I just wanted to go and do a job, work my 8 till 5, take my paycheck and go home.
Right. Were you raising a family at the same time?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, 3 children and coaching and
busy life.
Busy life. So
for sure.
When I turned 50, my brothers and sisters, I have 7 brothers and sisters, and I'm the oldest. So
you're the oldest.
I'm the oldest. So they put together some cash, and they said, "Here, you go do something," because my kids were getting older, and you had time to sort of figure out what you wanted to do.
Yep, sure. So
I took a weekend course, a pen and ink course from Anna Coote from St. Mary's.
Now, why did you choose that?
She's my sister's sister-in-law is one thing.
Right.
And I'd seen some of Anna's work and I liked it. It was only a weekend and I was free that weekend.
Right. And you thought, I can do that.
I thought I would like to.
Sure.
I'm very open to trying new things.
Okay.
So I was just experimenting, right? So I liked that. And anyway, Anna took me and introduced me to Ellen Ehrenberg of Honored Art Studio. Mm-hmm. She teaches fine art, and we hit it off, and I was very interested in taking some art lessons, so I decided that's what I would do with my money for my brothers and sisters.
Okay.
So
your interest got tickled a little, and
it did. And you know, when I think back, when I was in public school, the highlight of my year was doing the cover pages for each subject. You know how?
Yes. Yes.
Right? Geography, history. That I loved doing that.
Right.
So, and I remember telling someone, I can remember my teacher giving us an art lesson on the chalkboard. She was showing us how to draw a person.
Right.
And the measurements, and the head is 1/5 of, all these things. I can see it as plain as day.
Right.
And the girl that was in the same class as me said afterwards, she said, I have no recollection of that lesson at all. She said, "Are you sure we were in the same class?" But for me, it struck something for me.
Right.
So I've always had an interest, but I said the kids nowadays are so lucky because they get art lessons, like real art lessons in school.
Right.
So you can experiment and you can play and you can learn, and then who knows when you get older where you might go with it, right?
Did you feel that it was the path not followed back in the day?
For sure. Well, I didn't even know it was a path.
It was like a buried idea, interest. Right.
Exactly. So when I started taking lessons from Ellen, she asked what I wanted to do, and I said, well, my daughter's getting married in November. This was in the spring. So I said, I want to design the program for her at the church service. Right. And I said, I want to do Head and Shoulders of Kelly and Todd for the pamphlet. And Ellen said to me afterwards, she thought, because she had no idea, can this girl even draw, right? But I'd never had any formal lessons of any sort. So anyway, that's what I started with, got that done, was very happy with it. Everybody was happy with it. So I decided to take another lesson with her. And so she said, well, what do you want to learn now? And I said, well, what do you want to teach me?
Oh, you
And
were really open.
I was. And she said, well, my specialty is watercolor. And I said, okay, let's do watercolor. So we started
gosh.
with watercolor.
Okay.
But you know what? And I think a lot of people maybe have this, and Anna maybe found the same thing. When you to put that first word on the page, or to put that first drawing down. So I experimented. I did all the stuff with the different brushes and the different colors, and I picked out what I wanted to paint. But you think I could get started with that? I could
Really?
not. And so Ellen's voice has been in my head for many, many projects, this being one of them. Start with what you know. I knew there was a chair
Interesting.
that wanted to be in that painting. So I started with the chair. Once I got started, I was off to the races. So
Right.
I had to use that same thing with
The
this
same kind of
book.
philosophy.
Exactly.
That's actually a really good lesson for our viewers about following your passions and being open to things that might cross your path. You just never know when somebody suggests something. If it's not the universe saying to you, do this.
Yeah. Yes.
That's really good. So now last week Anna told us about meeting you and the beginning of your relationship. Tell us your side of it. Tell us what sparked you about this story. It's beautiful.
I can tell you exactly where I was when the phone rang. I had just finished an aquafit class and I was in the change room and my phone rang and I thought, this has to be
There's
important.
a visual for you people.
well, so anyway, I said, okay, this has got to be important because nobody would phone me at this time.
Right.
So it was Anna, and she said, I have this idea, and would you be interested?
Right.
I'm looking for someone to illustrate this book. And I said, well, I want to read the book and see. Because I said to her, I said, if I don't feel a connection, I'm not going to be able to do the best job that I can for you.
Spark that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So so we'd agreed to meet. We went for lunch, and she had her few pages with her story all written down on it, and so I read the book, and I knew Anna, but we knew each other, but we, more acquaintances, I think, than friends at the time, right? So anyway, I went through and I read the story, and it really did hit home, and she told me why she wanted to do this story, and I just felt like I wanted to be part of it because I think it's important and it's going to help other people.
It resonated with you.
It did,
well,
for sure.
Clearly it did. I mean, look at all the stories in this particular drawing. This one here, there's a lot going on here. There's a granny in a wheelchair and a little child going wee, probably. I mean, it looks like she's having a blast. And the older brother and the mama, and clearly they're in a facility of some kind. There's a lot of detail, but there's a lot of information in these images. Now, you did these as watercolors. Did you do them?
I did them as watercolors.
Yeah.
So each one is from an original watercolor. So I because I had never done anything like this either. I had no idea. We knew the age group. I knew the age group, the target group that Anna wanted. So that gave me an idea as to the colors and the simplicity, and then I did some research on. I learned about the pace of a book and how you had so many words, and you don't want it to be monotonous, and you don't want it to be too many words on one page and not enough pictures, and so and how many pages are in a children's book. It's like very basic stuff that I'm sure illustrators and children's authors maybe know, but we didn't know, so we had to learn a lot about that. So it was very stimulating. It was overwhelming.
Was it?
Yes. It was overwhelming, and I tend to be a bit of a procrastinator on top of all this. And remember I told you about how to make that first step, like to get started.
Yes.
So the first one that I did was the one of Lincoln with holding the flowers. And the reason I did that one is because Anna told me that picture meant a lot to her. This one.
This one. Okay,
Yeah.
so let's show this one.
That's Lincoln with the flowers. So that was the very first one that I did.
Okay.
And that was based on a photograph that Anna gave me of Lincoln. So, okay.
Of the real Lincoln.
I have to start with this one.
Okay.
This is where I'm going to start.
Yep.
So, yeah, and then the rest of it, this one, the one with the, everyone has a little bit of a story.
I love this one.
The one with the
one with all the birds, and there's just so much detail in it. The fish and the birds, and it reminds me of long-term care facilities that I've been in that follow the Eden philosophy, where there are lots of birds and animals and cats
and people like
that's where I want to live.
Yeah, they like looking at that kind of stuff too. So
yes,
yeah. So it was. I found myself. I was waiting in a doctor's office. I had an appointment, and he had a fish tank in his waiting room. So I'm analyzing it. Okay, can I draw that?
Is that what inspired this?
That was one. I took pictures. I went online and I looked at stock photos, and anytime I saw a fish tank or whatever it was. You know, the other thing I did, because my grandchildren, I have 4 of them as well.
Mm-hmm.
The older 2 are 14 and 12, and the younger ones are 9 and 4.
Mm-hmm.
And so I used the younger ones because the 4-year-old especially. So I got them to pose in different, like the one where they're looking in the room and they're very surprised.
Right.
So I got them to point and then turn and look at me, and then I could take photographs because I wanted it to be a child. And how do they look when they look surprised, right? So I needed something to use as a reference. So they were kind of tickled with that too. So when we showed them the finished product, they knew that they were part of it. So
yes, isn't that wonderful? Tell us a bit about the advice that you might give to older adults who are retired and never took that path, but kind of want to, but don't know how to start.
Right.
I mean, that takes some courage.
It does, and probably baby steps, but take that first step.
And look, you could be a professional published artist as well. I mean, with Anna as the author, that's a professional step.
You know,
for her
it's
too.
funny. The closer we got to being in print, the more I started nitpicking at what I had done. And I sent Anna, I don't know how many, I did a few of them the second time over, and I'd send her and I'd say, okay, do you like this one or this one? And of course I'm looking at it from the artist's perspective, and she's looking at it from, well, I think the kids will like this one, right? So
2 different viewpoints.
But
an artist's work is never done. At some point you have to say stop.
It's as hard to get started as it is to stop, because sometimes that one last brush stroke is what ruins it, and then you have to start over again. So you know, I mean,
and working in real watercolor, for sure, you have to. It's not digital where you can just back it up a step.
That's right. No undo.
No undo. For sure. Well, it's a beautifully illustrated book. The story is lovely, but these illustrations also serve to bring it to life. Oh, look at that. I mean, doesn't every grandparent just want to sit in a big chair with their grandchildren and read stories? And you can do that with this book. You can read the stories and you can examine the pictures, and I expect that there are a lot of lessons that families could learn from the words and the images together, don't you?
I agree.
What other projects have you worked on since, or are you taking a break?
Summer is not a good time for me. I'm a golfer, so.
Oh, you're one of those.
I am one of those. But, you know, it's funny because I hadn't done watercolor for a long time. But for some of the other research I did, I realized that watercolor was going to give Anna the best result for the illustration. So I had to get out my stuff again, and it kind of got me interested in watercolor again, because probably I backed off because watercolor it can be very difficult. It's not as easy as, well, and I don't mean that acrylic is easy, but if I mess up with acrylics, I can go over top. I can fix it.
Right.
It's not as easy with the watercolor.
So what are you painting these days that you find personal inspiration for?
I just finished a painting for my daughter's office, and it's a picture of, I know she likes sunflowers. Mm-hmm. I knew the space that I had to fill. It's her youngest niece, so my youngest granddaughter. Mm-hmm. And we had just finished family pictures, so I had a picture of her in a meadow full of sunflowers.
Okay.
So that was my latest project. So,
Nice.
yeah. So I
And so
was-
you won't pick up another one until golfing season has been,
yes,
which for
probably
some
not.
people is December.
Well, it won't be that long for me. I'm thinking September, but
September.
yeah. But I do need to. I need to be a little bit more disciplined and do. But you know, at this stage in life, I don't know if I want to be disciplined. I want to be able to. I want to have balance and
That's for sissies.
balance.
Discipline.
Oh,
Right?
right, right.
I mean, when you're retired and you can do whatever you want,
Yeah.
you just have to be disciplined about the project.
Yes, I have to
Right.
think very carefully about what projects I want to invest my time in because I'm like a dog with a bone once I get started.
Right. Do you take commissions?
Yes.
Oh, we'll put that information under this as well. But we'll also tell you, as we did last week, where to buy this wonderful book where you can read the story that was written by Anna and see the illustrations that were done by Valerie. It's absolutely a beautiful book with a beautiful message, and I would encourage you to read it. And if you are somebody who works in a long-term care facility or a nursing home, retirement, this is a book that should be in the library there as well. So I would encourage you to consider it from that point of view as well as from a family point of view. So thank you again for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And to all of you, thank you for being with us. And we will see you next week on another edition of the Oldish TV. Until then, do take care of one another. And remember that it takes a village to age a senior.